What is going on, everybody? We are here again. All we got back in the building.
Mark's fixed.
Thank
goodness.
Actually, we swapped stands. So,
yeah.
so let's see what happens.
That's actually what, yeah. I said I wouldn't come back unless the mic was fixed.
So we just gave you the good one.
Thanks,
I'd
man.
really love for that one to collapse on you as well. That would be
I'll walk out. I won't give all we got.
Give half of what we got. No, it's cool. And on our new set, looking fancy.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Although the last set looked cool as well. I was watching
that's cool.
a little bit last night.
Yeah.
Cool.
Even me, I checked on it. I think I was the first person to watch it because everybody was at Strader having a good time.
Yes. Well, I saw it got 2 views, yours and mine.
Yeah.
So stoked we're back, yeah.
We're just watching ourselves. Let's go. We obviously need humility. Yeah. But tonight, whenever you might be watching it, I really wanted us to chat around an idea, and I think that it's a concept where maybe we speak about a lot, or that's known by a lot of people that should be something we get right or try and do, but maybe not hitting it out of the park all the time. And I really wanted to chat around like church culture and kingdom culture and what that is, and what does it mean to be setting culture, or like what's the reverse of
setting culture, unsetting culture.
Or like destroying culture.
Violating it.
Violating culture. I like that because I don't know who said it. I think it was actually at one of the Ignite things, either Dino or Tyron, and I think it was one of the first ones. It might have even been you or Tom who said the statement, but you said something around like, you're always setting culture. Like, you're just either setting the right one or the wrong one.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, it's not a matter of am I or am I not. Is it the right one or is it the wrong culture?
And everybody, not like just the leaders setting the culture. Like, everybody is either contributing to or taking away from the culture we're trying to build out.
Yeah, so I think I wanted to kind of just pick your brain on that a little bit, because I think you've spoken into culture a bit as well, just as a church and being the youth pastor for forever. Like, I think that you speak a lot into that idea of culture and what that looks like for a church, for a ministry, for a group of people. And maybe it's good just to start off with like what does that practically maybe look like for you of setting culture? Like how do you feel it? How do you know it? Like, what is it? Like, some form of a definition there.
Okay, well, let's try and unpack this a little. Look, I think the reason that we talk about... So culture, like the word we're looking for is... speaks about like social behavior, like the way that everybody's contributing to the environment, the atmosphere. That's the kind of culture we're talking about. And obviously there's loads of different cultures. Even in South Africa, it's rich with culture. And I think that's such a God thing. Like, I don't think we should ever squeeze a certain culture out of somebody, or a people group or whatever. I think we should pull from it and draw from it. But there is a kingdom culture, and there is something unique about the way that God wants us to do things. And I think the reason that we speak about culture is so much of what God wants to do can be propelled, like exponentially propelled through culture, or exponentially like diminished through culture. And I mean, we've shared the story before, but Jesus understood culture. He might have used different words. He used words like faith, which I actually think is one of the cultures we want to see created. But he speaks about 2 different times where he was able to do like no miracles because there was not a faith culture in a particular town. And then there's another account where a guy who's not even a Christian, because Christianity hadn't started, but he wasn't somebody of necessarily the Jewish faith. He was a Roman centurion, but he came and said, God, you just say the word. And there was just such a faith culture within him that God said, well, on this, it was recorded at that very hour, I think it was his servant or his child was healed. And I think we want a culture that moves the heart of God, that
cool.
exponentially increases things, that brings healing and belonging. And so I think the reason we want to build culture is unless you're intentional about it, there's a great word, it's entropy. Did we speak about it the last time? I spoke about it somewhere, maybe at church. But entropy means the downward, unintentional spiral. And it's like, unless you're intentional about building culture, there will be an entropy. And so it's hard to describe culture. It's like hard to say and there are, I know we were chatting a little before, there are one or two practical things, but it's hard to go, culture's this. It's because it's what you feel. It's the way, you even think about that statement that says, people don't remember what you said, they remember the way you made them feel. That's culture.
And I think that's so good because, we've said it so often when it comes to like volunteer teams and like what happens here on a Sunday or a Friday or a Wednesday or whenever we're doing ministry. It's like a person can come through the doors, hear a great message, experience great worship, and still walk out and never experience what God wanted for them because of the culture in the room. And because we haven't said, like you said, like I love that idea that it's an environment that we feel. Like it's what happens when you're walking through the foyer. It's what happens when you're sitting in your home group. It's what happens when you're having a meeting or here on a Sunday or whenever. And it's like, it's something that's felt, not something that's taught. It's like, actually, I experienced this, and so this is what this culture is.
And we have the ability to set it. It's been said here so many times before in this church about a thermostat versus a thermometer. I hope I'm getting this the right way around. A thermometer reads the temperature. And so, you know how it is. Guys like, we arrived at that party, it wasn't a vibe. Guy like, well, hold on. So you're not a vibe. Because if you can't set the culture, if you can't set the environment, if you can't set the temperature, and that's the difference. The thermostat actually reads the room and then changes the temperature according to what it's wanting to do. So it either comes in, it like heats it right up, or it brings the, And I think for us, like wherever we arrive, and I love that you use the example of like home group, because I think it's not just big church ignites. It's like wherever you are, you have the ability to set the culture. Go like, man, I'm going to be somebody of faith, or I'm going to be somebody of, who just brings a fun, exciting, or a culture of honor, or whatever it is. I think that being intentional around that is awesome. Well, it is awesome, and it's also more than just being awesome. It's a trendsetter. So, like, if you do it, I like almost want to just follow suit, So I think sometimes we think leadership is a microphone, when leadership is actually, it's in homes, it's in families, it's in friendship groups. So
that's good, and I love what you said there about being a thermometer and a thermostat, because like I've experienced this so many times where when you're building a ministry or building church, or you're trying to do stuff and you're like, guys, like this is the goal, this is where we're aiming, this is what we're wanting, this is the culture that we're trying to set, and then people come in and they're like, it's so tough. The vibe here just isn't nice. Like, this just doesn't feel right, or I wish it was X, Y, and Z. And I found myself, especially last year, having so many of these conversations of like guys like, but it just, the culture's just stiff, eh? And without saying it, but like turning to them and saying, well, do you understand you're the culture? So if the culture's stiff, you're stiff. Like without saying that, but
we also love you.
But we love you, and you're great, and you can grow and be better.
But you know what? Like, I think you raised such a good point there, because you're saying, ultimately, when people think or talk like that, and we've all done it. I mean, I've arrived. I think let's be gracious with each other. Like, we've had moments where we judge an environment or people group or whatever. But when you say a comment like that, what you're actually saying when you say the culture is stiff, it's meaning I'm not being served by the culture. It's not making me feel good. But like, if we culture setters and trend setters, and if we thermostats, then we're coming in and we're going, no, that's what it looks like. It's not rad right now, but I'm going to change that. I'm going to, and what an awesome opportunity to bring that change. And I've told the story to you and to others many times. When I joined this church, way back. I was actually in this church for a while.
Way back.
Way back. 1996 is when I first joined the church.
That's crazy.
True story.
I was 2 years old then.
Okay. And then I had a bit of a wobbly through my teenage years, but I came back at 18, which would have been 2004.
Sure.
I think there were 3 young adults in our church. I was one of them. Roger and Yvonne's son was another.
Yeah.
And there were 3 young adults, and there was almost no youth. All the youth sat at the back. And one of the things that I endeavored to do is to go, we're going to change a culture here. Because they were saying, well, all the kids, teenagers sit at the back on their phones. Go well, okay, we'll move from back right to front left.
Yeah.
We're actually going to make a statement about this. And we slowly started to change the culture. One of the things that we did is that we wanted to have a culture of worship.
Yeah.
And so I remember, honestly, being the only fool, the only clown in the church, jumping up and down.
Going
now
crazy.
I see
that's just what it is.
No, but I love it. But I see guys walking in here and they just start hopping and bouncing before they even,
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's awesome. That's culture.
Yeah.
I don't even know if those guys yet know Jesus, but they're
they're in
it because the culture is contagious. But it took guys being forerunners of that. And so it's easy to say, oh, culture stuff. Easy to go, oh, it's not my vibe. Or you go well, what does the future look like? We spoke about this last week. Are you in it for today's experience?
Yeah.
Because even, and I'm probably talking too much, so I'm going to keep quiet in a moment here, but the building thing that you spoke about.
Yeah.
When you look at your marriage.
Yeah.
You've been married for
2.5 years.
Easy, hey? Every day.
Simple, best thing ever.
Well, it is the best thing.
Yes.
That's true, but
every
easy?
day. Every day, so simple.
Definitely
Get up,
not.
just do it.
I've been married for 8 years, and probably as many days that have been good have been hard.
Yeah.
Probably, so about half the time. And Tony would probably get up here and go, all my days have been hard because I'm married to you.
Yes.
But they've been hard, and yet we want to build a culture in our marriage that's one of honor, and that's one of faith, and that's one of kindness, and that's one of playing second fiddle, like we spoke last week. But I tell you what, there's some days you got to grit your teeth and you've got to build.
Yeah.
And even when you don't feel like it, and even when the other person's being stiff, and even when it feels like it's unfair, but in the end of the day, I want to have a great marriage.
Yeah.
In the end of the day, we want to have a church culture that is great.
Yes. And I think that's really cool because it you're actually saying now it's not about where everything's at, it's about where I'm going to take that. And where can I, okay, it might be stiff, and I think, and maybe it's just my personality, but if something's not the way that I want it, I'm okay, let's change it. Let's build it. Let's transform it. Let's get it to where we can. Let's push. Let's drive. But it becomes less of a, oh, there's nothing we can do, and more of a, okay, let's take it on. Let's build into this thing, and let's challenge what's gone on. Let's challenge what's happened before. Let's and not just challenge the good stuff, but actually say, why is it stiff? If and part of what I was saying to these guys when I was chatting is well, you're if you're saying it's stiff, you're actually looking at yourself, because you are the culture and you're reflecting the culture. And so if you're seeing stiff, or then evaluate ourselves, because sometimes I think and I love that you that analogy of marriage and building, because even in marriage it's easy to be but you're the problem. you didn't do the dishes.
Yes.
or you forgot this, or you made me feel that, or you and you and you and you and you. And actually what it comes down to is saying, well, what about me? What am I playing in this role? What am I doing? And what am I setting? And and sometimes when it comes to church culture, we can kind of be no, the leaders need to change something. No, they should have done it different. No, they should make me feel, or it should be. And it's wait, just hold up a moment. Let me check my own heart. Let me check where I'm at. Okay, sure. Can I do something to change this? Can I do something to build into here? Can I reevaluate?
Yeah, and I'm sure on one of these sessions we'll talk about leadership and servant leadership, and but again, in the end of the day, we get opportunities by God to set environments, to love on people, to create culture, and it really has got so little to do with your position or your title. It's, and you're building something that's becoming a part of the repertoire of who you are as a Christian. And in fact, I know that some of the most game-changing ministry moments have come not when I've implemented the change, but when somebody who didn't have to did.
Yeah.
When somebody,
they caught that thing.
And they're just like, and sometimes it's come from tough conversations. Hey man, you better than that.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, Toko was in our youth ministry, and we were building up for like youth camp, and man, we had gone all out, like big marketing. It was going to be amazing. We had prayed, we had invited, we had gone out to schools, and the numbers were looking like peanuts. And then I got wind of like Oaks going, I don't know, and it's not a vibe, and I'm not sure. And then Toko was one of them, but pulled Toko in and said, bro, you're better than that. You're a leader in this space. And honestly, between him and a couple of others, they went and turned the tide of what happened. And loads of guys turned out at camp. Many guys got saved. And many guys joined our intern program. And so I think if you're listening to this, you don't have to wait for the leadership to change the culture. In fact, there's never going to be a leader. If you're bringing stuff like honor and you're bringing stuff like faith and you're bringing care and authentic relationship, man, they're going to love that you're doing that. So,
and I love that. And I think maybe even part of that is if we're saying, okay, cool, so build the right culture.
Yeah.
So what does that practically look like? Like what is the right culture? Like what are those tangible things? If someone's sitting here saying, okay, I get it. I got to be better. I got to be a better person.
Yeah.
But what as a pastor and as a leader, what are we looking for? Like what is the thing that we're like, yes, you're doing the right thing. You're hitting that culture.
Cool. So I think we got to move past that. I'm just showing up is good enough.
Yeah.
We're grateful for people that show up, and we want loads of people to show up. But I think if you're going to change a culture, it's more than just showing up. So saying, good. Hey, I came to church or I was here is we're looking for more than that.
Yeah.
I wrote down one or two thoughts that I'm just going to look at quickly. I think I would say faith and expectancy, huge.
Yeah.
And that starts before you arrive.
Yeah.
So, and that may look like praying on the way here, going, God, I want you to do something in me and I want you to do something in everybody else. Every Sunday, I pray not because I'm the pastor of this church, because I want to bring a culture of expectancy.
Yeah.
I'm praying that people who've never come to our church arrive today, whether it's online or in the building. I'm praying that people who are far from God return.
Yeah.
I'm praying for salvation. There's an expectancy of faith in my heart. So I think, and when you going, God, I'm here for you, I think that's massive. I think sometimes we forget, and church is about the people, but often we can forget.
Yeah. And
if we just arrive going, man, my expectation, my faith, my prayer, it's hot. I'm coming in hot. So I would say that. I would say, particularly in the young adults, youth, I would say inclusivity.
Yeah.
Huge. I'm going to create a culture that doesn't have cliques.
Yeah.
That doesn't look like black or white, young or old, rich or poor, cool or uncool, it blows my mind still that in a church setting, you can have cliques.
Yeah.
I get it I don't get it at high school, but somehow, and yet at church, there's still people who will say to me, I just feel like I didn't really connect.
Yeah.
That's a huge indictment on the church.
Yeah.
If you're not arriving going, I'm going to connect with everybody, I'm going to chat with everybody, I'm going to find the person that maybe doesn't look like me. I think that inclusivity is huge.
Super important, yeah.
I think just having fun. I know that doesn't sound deeply spiritual. I love what Dino and Tyron said in that first year. They said that we take what we do seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously.
Yeah, I love that.
Somehow spirituality becomes so intense.
Yeah.
And I think just having a good time, having fun, cracking a joke, being lighthearted, I think that would be an awesome environment for people. Sometimes, honestly, I'm not talking about the terrible, dark, debauched sin. I'm just saying sometimes the world has more fun than the church.
Yeah.
And I reckon we're going to have a great time in heaven.
Yeah.
So I would say that, and maybe one or two just others. I would say a culture of honor. And I don't just mean this because it can be skewed and taken out of context, and it's you got to bow down to the pastor, or like, man, in this church, certainly we don't have any elevated like titles or whatever the case is. I'm actually just talking about like honoring the way that you talk to each other, the way that you build each other up, the way that you treat each other. I think that honor should be something that we should lead with. So I would say that, and I would say gratitude. I think that often people, the reason that there's a toxic culture is because they've got ungrateful for the church they're part of. Just go like, man, I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for this place. I'm so grateful I get to worship, that I'm saved, that I know Jesus. I think gratitude is huge. We could probably rattle off a whole bunch of others, like a culture of care. Like that. This is more than just like when we arrive, we're not judging it on just the vibe. We're actually judging it on, did we build authentic community and relationships? Like, man, I would love to know that I know as a pastor, I can't reach the hundreds of people that walk through our doors. But I know that if everybody considers us home and is building an inclusive, belonging culture, that we could care for every single person. I don't know. Those are a couple of thoughts that I would say, man, if we got those right. And I think we are. I don't think this is a heavy lambaste today. I think we are, but I think we can keep building.
Keep hitting it, I think something for me that really, probably over the last year, I've really been really tried to hit right in terms of culture, is I think that to just be encouraging. I think that sometimes we can become super critical, and it's like, oh, but that should have been like that, or we should have done it this way, or you should have, or not even just critical, but sometimes you can think positive things about somebody without actually sharing that thought. And it's like, but actually going out of our way to be encouraging and make sure every person knows, sure, okay, like
how often
you build me up.
We have this thought, like, yo, that was really good, but we don't say it. Why?
Yeah.
It's mental, like,
and it's crazy. And I think, and even, and it's something that even me and Kirst do a lot, and people know that, is like when we're shouting down the preachers and whatever, like, but that was because it was an intentional culture thing. It's like we want a culture of encouragement, and that was part of what me and Kirst have done. Is we're like, so if I'm on sound or if I'm front row, I'm going to shout the preacher down. And it's like, and that's the culture that we're trying to set. And I think, especially for young guys, to actually say, like, because sometimes there can be this competition, and it's like, oh, but I don't actually want to, but you did it, but I wanted that. But it's like, actually, like, let's just breathe life. Crazy. Like, let's just breathe life into each other. Good. And so I think that's super important for me, is that idea of encouraging. And then I love everything else there that you said, honor, faith. I think that we've got to create a space where people walk in and already experience what a kingdom should feel like.
So good, yeah. I mean, we should have people getting saved in our foyers, not just from preaching from pulpits. And people make their decisions. We know the studies, like, within the first 5 minutes of being, and just remember, like, I mean, we're not just building culture for outsiders, we're building it for insiders as well. But for anybody who's looking into our faith, they already got their preconceived ideas. And so we actually have to fight really hard to, like, untangle that and dismantle that and go, like, that's actually not, the church is judgmental, the church, fire is going to come down on me, the church doesn't love anyone, the church doesn't care, all these statements, they're hypocrites, we have to fight really hard to untangle that. And if we don't, if somebody walks in here and isn't greeted, isn't loved, we just then amplify
those things already that they're thinking. It's really good. I think, I love this. I could talk about culture for the rest of my life. I think it's awesome, and I think it's something that is so needed. Not just in our church, but just everywhere. Like, we need to understand that we're carrying something, and we're carriers of God and His Spirit, and people see us, and if they're not experiencing a kingdom culture, then we're not inviting them into that space to experience God. So it's been really good.
And I get it, like, sometimes it can be fake. And look, I'm a little gracious around the fake, because sometimes you're just trying to build culture and it's not quite authentic yet. But I give you all the points for trying. Obviously, if you're aiming for fake because you're looking for some, I don't know. But like, I've been in environments where the culture's strong.
Yeah.
And it just sucks you in, and you're like, frick, I want to be a part of this. One of my favorite statements from a guy, I think his name is Perry Noble, who was in the Hillsong environment, and he said, man, it feels like everybody here got saved yesterday.
Yeah.
And he speak about the culture.
Yeah.
He's like, it's just tangible. I can feel there's an excitement, there's an expectation, everybody's in this together, you know? So I think that's why it excites us, because if we can get it right, we'll see massive momentum, we'll see God's kingdom, and ultimately it would elevate people and elevate God.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Shot, Cole.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been good.
My mic stayed
It
in
didn't
place.
move. It didn't even budge. So, yeah, thank you so much. It's been great. And, we're excited to see what we do next week.
Nice.
Let's do it.
Cheers.
Cheers.